Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for today's episode of Real Estate Disruptors. Today we have Sean Zavary with GreenLight Offer, another rock star coming in from Houston, Texas, to talk about how he kept 50% of his revenue last year doing 1.4 mil in just one market. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm Steve Trang, sales trainer for some of the top wholesalers in the country, and I'm on a mission to create 100 millionaires. One question I get a lot is, how do I become one of the 100 millionaires? The information on this podcast alone is enough to help you become a millionaire in the next 5 to 7 years. All you need to do is take consistent action, you will become one. When you hear a nugget, please type it in the comments section below, and after the show, identify your single biggest takeaway and focus on just that for the next 7 days. If you get value out of the show today, please tag a friend below or share this episode right now. That way we can all grow together. And this is a live show, so please ask your questions for Sean to answer. You ready?
Yes, sir. Let's get it cracking.
All right. So first question is, what got you into real estate?
What got me into real estate? So it was about 5 years ago. By the grace of God, man, I got in. And basically, I come from a background, family business background. Did a furniture company. It's a well-known furniture company in Houston, about 7-8 locations in town. So I was working with them for about 7-8 years, doing everything from accounts payable to accounts receivable to, delivery manager, warehouse manager, sales, all that good stuff.
A lot of hats.
A lot of hats. And
it was your parents' business?
Yeah, it was my parents' business. And they started back in 98. And it was great, man. It taught me a lot. But, I really stopped enjoying going to work. I just didn't like the furniture business. I didn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life. So I was actually still in college at that time, where I was having these thoughts. And my girlfriend at the time, now she's my wife, we're sitting there just trying to think of what can I get into, right? And obviously, wearing all those hats, I know that the best position that I enjoyed the most was sales. I love talking to people. I love connecting with individuals. So we're like, all right, we know it's going to be in the sales industry. So where? And she randomly said, well, why don't you get into, real estate? She used to work for a broker, or no, not a broker, a builder, Meritage Homes. And she said, why don't you get into the real estate industry? My boss made like over $900K last year. And I was like, she made $900K last year selling homes? She's like, yeah. I was like,
revenue.
Well,
whatever.
Well, real estate it is. Let's go to real estate. So my plan was to be a real estate agent. I liked watching HGTV shows. I'm gonna fix and flip houses. I'm gonna first get in the door by being an agent, and then just flip houses, and started researching real estate and whatnot. And as I was researching real estate, I guess the algorithms from Google pushed to Instagram, and Nick Ruiz popped up on my newsfeed. Heard of him?
Of course.
Yeah. He popped up on my newsfeed talking about wholesaling, and I was like, what is this? So he's talking about selling contracts, not having to buy the houses, and I was like, this is real estate. This is real estate investing, and this is flipping properties. I'm like, all right. So bought his book, and he had a course out, and that's what I'm telling you, by the grace of God, man, because this course was $2 in that same month. In the month of May, he was running a promo for $2. So I bought it, and basically watched a few videos on his course. But what I kept watching was the testimonials that his students were writing, like how they had big checks and what. And that's kind of what made me a believer in the system. So I just started taking action, read his book, and putting bandit signs up, and from there I went on.
So working in the family business, you started working at what age?
When I was a senior in high school. My dad wanted me to get a job. He just didn't want me to come into the family business. He wanted me to get an outside job so I can kind of learn like how to clock in, clock out, being on time. So I used to work at Chuck E. Cheese, actually. I was the best Chuck E. in town.
Oh, you were Chuck E.?
Oh yeah, because whoever was game room attendants, like as in the ones who were fixed the games and delivered or the bus boys, we had to be Chuck E. as well.
Well, so I'm definitely not gonna let my kids watch this episode.
Chucky, they changed up Chucky a little bit. Now Chucky's really skinny, and he doesn't look like the same anymore. I took my nieces there a few months ago, and I was like, this is not the same. It's not the same.
So,
Chucky.
your family had the business already.
Yeah.
You had to go work somewhere else before you can come and work for your family.
Right.
And then you did that for a couple of years.
I did that for about 9 or 10 months.
9 to 10 months.
Worked at Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, no, I'm talking about with your family.
Oh, my family, I worked there for 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what kind of money were you making? Because this is leaving a family business is not like an easy decision, right? So what kind of money were you making at that time?
I was making good money, and I was making good money. I mean, it was my bills were paid, which I didn't have much because I was living at home. I was still in college, but what type of money I was making? I think it was $4,000 to $5,000 a month.
Okay.
Depending on what position I was doing, right? Because like I said, when I was in sales, then I'll get the salary and then I'll get commission on top. Do you know what a spiff is?
Of course, the car sales. But you should explain it.
Yeah, spiff is basically like incentives, right? Bonuses. So it's like whoever can get X amount this month or this today, who can get like 5 sales today, gets the extra $500. And this is when I knew I was really good at sales, because whenever my brother would say, because he's like the sales operation guy, when he was like, hey, we're doing spiffs for Tuesday, you get this many sales, you make this much bonus, that would kind of just fire me up, and I would become first or second place in the spiff. But my brother would never pay me out just because he was like, we'll pay the other guy, just because I guess just for morale. It looks bad. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's when I knew sales, like I was like, all right, this is something I like.
So, and you mentioned earlier, like you were in college when you were having these thoughts. So what were the expectations from your family? Were the expectations that Sean was going to go to college, get a degree, get a good job, or was his expectation to work in the family business?
It was whatever Sean wanted, to be honest. I mean, I come from a family background, like hardworking family background. So they said that I can't work at the furniture store if I don't have a degree.
Okay.
At that time, I've never been too fond of school. Mm-hmm. But my dad was like, you're not going to be able to work with us if you don't have a degree. I'm like, Dad, I don't need a degree to work here. He was like, yeah, you do.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, he was like, that was his, push to, you can't just fall on the family business. Mm-hmm. We need you to complete school.
Yeah.
So, it was, the thing was just to stick with the family business.
Wasn't be an engineer, an accountant,
no,
or attorney or doctor.
No,
that wasn't the expectation, because that's the general Asian, Middle Eastern, that part of the country,
right,
or part of the world. Okay, so you were to go to college, and then what was your intention going to college? Was it to, and the reason I'm asking this question, because a lot of our audience is like, should I go to college? Is college the right thing, right? So just kind of want to answer that question a little bit. Is when you were in college, was it to, after you get your degree, work in a family business, or was like, were there other directions? What were the?
Basically, so it took me about 6 years to finish college. From year 1 to 5 or 5.5, it was get a degree and work with the family business for the rest of my life and grow that, because it's an empire, right? Mm-hmm. It's I'm talking about 50,000 square feet warehouse, stores, 7 stores, huge, well known in the Houston market. So it was just work, get a degree and then work with the family business and just grow that.
Okay. And then when you started having second thoughts, it was because this work thing is not as fun as it.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not like you get into real estate and it's easy.
No.
Right. So, I mean, what was that? Was it harder than you expected? Or you just you already had that grind in you, so this is easy?
I had the grind in me. I come from working 12 to 15 hours a day.
Gotcha.
It was my family did not treat me like, it was not like, oh, you're one of the bosses, you can only work 6 hours. It was like, no, you're one of the bosses, you work 12, 15 hours.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. I come from a background where it's just put your head down and grind.
Gotcha.
And so when I came into the real estate world, putting bandit signs at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning was nothing to me. It was like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
This is we come from the work.
It's not a grind. This is just normal.
Yeah. This is it. We put our heads down. We work.
Okay. So when did you make your leap? What year was it?
2016. As soon as I graduated college.
Okay. And then we were talking earlier. So you joined Boardroom at some point.
Right.
So that wasn't that much later from 2016.
Right.
So let's talk about your first deal. What was how did you get your first deal?
It's from Bandit Signs.
Okay.
Bandit Signs.
All right. And the Bandit Signs, you learned that from taking Nick's course?
Yeah, Nick's course. And basically it was Nick's course and Sean Terry Flip to Freedom. Mm-hmm. That was in my ear 24/7.
Yeah. Which is great. I mean, Sean Terry influenced a ton of people.
The pioneer.
All right. So Bandit Signs, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. How was your first deal?
Basically, so those bandit signs that we put up, Miss Ruby called me. I still remember her name, Ruby Davis. So she called me. She said that she had a house to sell, and it was not a livable house, and it was her grandmother's house, and she wanted me to check it out and whatnot. And I was just excited to get the call, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'll come check it out. I'll come tomorrow and X, Y, and Z. So went to the house, and it was in the Houston area. So it was kind of like in it's called Independent Heights in the Houston, and it's very close to 610 Loop. So it's a high demanding, high desirable area. But at that time, I didn't really know what that area was, what was going on. So I got to the house. We couldn't even get into the house. It was condemned. Basically, there was a railroad right behind it. And she was there, and she was like, what would you give me for this? And I'm like, wow, this looks like a teardown to me. And she was like, yeah, I think it is. And I'm like, okay, what do you want for it? And she was like, well, it's behind, I think she said it's behind like 14 or 15,000 in taxes. So I said, okay. And she's like, and there's 3 of us, so we will be okay with walking away with like, $5K each. And so that was like 15. So I was like, that's 30. I was like, what if we do, obviously we negotiated, got it under contract for 22,000. So I got it under contract for like 22,000. I didn't have a contract at that time. She's like, all right. I was like, I'm gonna come back to your house. I'll come to your house and we'll fill out the contract and kind of go from there. And so she left, took some pictures of the inside and outside of the house, just outside from the windows. And then I started driving around, and I used to do a lot of driving for dollars. So driving for dollars, direct mail, and bandit signs, those were my 3 marketing channels when I got started. So I was driving around, driving for dollars, because, my podcast, Sean Terry's like, whenever you go to appointments, drive around, right? Look for other houses. So I'm driving around, and I see a for sale by owner sign. So I'm like, all right, so let me call this person. So I call for sale by owner sign. I'm like, hey, driving around, we just picked up a house on the same street. How much are you looking to sell your house for? He's like, no, it's not the house that I'm selling the lot. I'm like, what lot? I mean, there's no lot. They're like, yeah, that little lot right there. I'm like, how big? I was like, that's like a 1,500, 2,000 square foot lot. He was like, yeah. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, no, I'm not interested, man. He was like, so he was like, yeah, do you have any other properties? I'm like, yeah, I do. I'm like, are you a buyer? He goes, yeah, I buy real estate. So I'm like, all right, well, I got this other house that I just picked up on X, I told the address, I think it was 322 East 37th Street. And he said, okay, how much are you asking for it? I'm like, oh crap, I knew he was gonna ask this question. I have no idea. So I was like, I don't know, how much do you want for it? And that's what I always learned. I always knew to never give your price first, right? I'm like, how much do you want for it? He's like, well, let me come look at it, and then we'll go from there. And I'm like, all right. He was like, I'll be there in about 20 minutes. I live nearby. So at that time, I got the contract printed because I didn't even have this house under contract yet. So he comes and he goes, he looks at it and he was like, all right, everything looks good. I'll give you 40K for it. And I'm like, 40K? Well, that's 18K right there. I'm like, okay, done. Right. So literally, and within an hour, I didn't even have this under contract yet because I didn't go to her house. He came before. So he's like, all right, let's go to the title company and let's do all the paperwork. I'm like, well, I got to go somewhere. Let me just meet you up in an hour or two. And he says, no, man, he's really being really urgent now. He's like, I'm going on a fishing trip tomorrow. I need to do this today. I said, all right, don't worry about it. We'll meet around 5 or 6 p.m. and we'll get everything taken care of. Meanwhile, I went to Ms. Ruby's house, signed the contract, called him. I was like, all right, we're ready to go. He put the earnest money deposit down. Everything was ready. And so, yeah, I signed the deal within the same day. So
that's a pretty smooth deal.
Yeah, that was smooth deal on the first end of it. But then this first deal that I put under contract was not my first deal I closed on.
Got it.
It was my 3rd deal I closed on because there was a lot of title issues. There was a lot of, basically a lot of title issues. And by the time I was ready to sell this property, when the title got clear, the buyer didn't have funds to close on this property. So he was like, Sean, I don't have funds to close on this property. And I said, okay. He's like, so can we he's like, I'm gonna tell you and at that time it was like 2-3 months in, and I kind of knew more numbers about that, and I knew I had gave it to him for a low price. I'm like, all right, how much do you want from this deal? He's like, if I walk away with 5 or 6K, I'll be all right. And I said, all right. So I reassigned it. So I gave 46, 47. He was gonna walk away with 46, 47, and I reassigned it to someone else for 55. So I got
was awfully generous on your part.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we did it. So he got, yeah.
So your first, so the one with Miss Ruby, and the FSBO guy, that was your first closing?
No, that was my first deal I put under contract. Not my first deal that I closed on. My first deal I closed on was Driving for Dollars.
Okay, so that guy that was going on that fishing trip, that was the guy that had the bail?
Yeah, he didn't have funds. He said that he used some funds, and me and him still have a relationship till this day.
Okay,
yeah.
How funny.
Yeah, Shababy is what I call him.
So you start off, hit the ground running, right, in 2016.
Right.
And it didn't seem like it was very long then you sign up for the boardroom, which is a mastermind.
Right.
That was a pretty quick jump, pretty fast. Like not many people like, let me start wholesaling.
Yeah.
Let me check out this thing on Instagram or Facebook, and then turn into joining a mastermind. What was the thought process behind that?
So it was 2016 or 2017 when I went to Sean Terry's Flip to Freedom event that he has here in Phoenix. And at that time, Kent was there. Kent Clothier was there as well. A few other, Justin Kobe was there, and they did a presentation about Boardroom Elite. And you know, when you're in sales, you get closed on easily. Closers get closed easily, right?
Closers are definitely the easiest to close.
Yeah, so I mean, I got closed. They closed me. They're like, dude, I was like, I'm done. Let's go. You know? So that's kind of where at that event, you know, I signed up. But I didn't sign up. I think they had a consultation, and like I was saying, my girlfriend at the time was my wife now. She came on board with me in January. She stopped working for her builder. She was an assistant for the builder sales rep, and she came on and hopped on with us in January. And then I told her about Boardroom, and she was like, "This is something that we need. We need direction." Mm-hmm. So that's when we signed up in January of 2017.
It's amazing. It was a very quick jump. So you went from working with your family, thinking about getting a license, bypassing that, wholesaling, and joining a mastermind.
Yeah, in the middle of that, I was actually trying. So basically, when I graduated, I graduated college on like May 16th. May 14th, somewhere around the May 14th or May 16th, and my first bandit sign I put out was May 31st. So it's about, what was that, 14 days, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
In those 2 weeks, I tried another business, which was credit card processing.
Okay.
Where you sell
another
credit card.
super competitive business.
Yeah. So I tried that for about a week and a half, and I was like, oh, I can't do this. I'm like, not that I can't do it. I was like, I don't want to do this.
That's another brutal business where you're a lot of cold calling, but it's B2B.
It was business. It was basically door to door that I had a suit on, and I was like, hey, and
that's gotta be nice in Houston.
Yeah, right. And May of 2016, summertime. So and then asking the most uncomfortable about that business was meeting someone. And then 10 or 15 minutes later, when they're like, all right, what's your rate? I'm like, well, I can't give you a rate until you give me your credit card statements. Like, you want my credit card statements? You just walked in my door 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So that was the most difficult part of that business. And that's where I was like, maybe this is not the route. I was like, let's go back to Nick Ruiz.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So then you how many deals did you think you closed in 16?
About 7.
Okay.
7 to
So
8.
pretty rock solid start. Join the mastermind. What happened next?
Structure. It was 2017. It was just me and my wife, and we were just rocking and rolling. We were just, the main part of the mastermind was getting around other individuals and knowing what the possibility was of this business, right? Like seeing other rock stars doing like enormous numbers, doing amazing things. It was really mindset. It was really mindset that helped me out. I didn't even start building a team in 2017. It was just me and her just putting our heads down and just working. And really started building a team in 2018.
Got it.
So it was just really more of the mindset and just kind of being the technician at that time.
So along the way, what were some of your early struggles, whether doing your first deals, being a small team, building a team? What were some of your biggest struggles in the early process?
In the early process, the biggest struggles, I would say, was consistency on the deal flows coming in. We did a fair amount of deals actually, but just having that, and actually I take that back. It was more mindset on marketing consistently, right? Because I'm like, I'm spending 10,000-15,000 a month. I mean, I don't have a deal coming in yet, or I have this deal coming in 2 months. Like that mindset of like, should I stop marketing right now and then wait for that deal to come in and go. But what I learned in the mastermind was they never stopped marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really just the battle of stop marketing. You don't have, the deals are not in yet, or continue marketing. So it was just the mindset of just keep going.
Yeah, I love it. Dean Graziosi calls it marketing stamina.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it eventually, right, as you mature.
Yeah.
But in the beginning,
Yeah.
it's hard to stomach the idea of spending money every single month, not knowing
Right.
if it's going to pay off.
It's an investment, man. It's a huge investment. You're betting yourself on data, or just, the marketing channels.
Right.
But yeah, what really helped us was the bandit signs in 2017, 2018. It was just, we were putting 400 bandit signs a week. Well, not us, but we were hiring individuals.
Yeah. And then around sometime in 18, someone reached out to me, and like, you got to get Sean on the show. And I begged you, and you wouldn't come.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but we talked about it before the show, what it was.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that conversation? What was it, when I reached out to you before, that you didn't feel like it was the right time?
Yeah. It was actually 2019 when you reached out, and I had a team at that time, but I was still, there was a lot going on, right? Building a team, training, onboarding, getting the systems and processes in place. I wasn't ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my mind wasn't there. I mean, I was still, there's a lot going on. Still, a lot going on. I mean, that's how life is, you got things going on. But I just didn't feel like I was, credible enough to come on Real Estate Disruptors.
Well, I think because part of the thing too is like, like stepping out, right? Leaving your team to function without you. And this is something I just want to highlight for everyone that's, watching, is that this is the aspiration. This is the goal, right? To be able to build a business that doesn't rely on you 100% of the time. Now, it's going to rely on you, but it's 100%, sure. Maybe like 5-10% of the time.
As a leader.
Where you're coming in kind of like the surgeon. Like, Sean, we got this problem. We need your insight. We need your experience involved in this. But 95% of the business doesn't need Sean.
Right.
Right. And at that time, in 2019, you didn't feel the business was sturdy enough for you to leave for 2 days.
Yeah.
So.
And I think you mentioned, heard you the king of Houston. I was like, no, man, I'm no king. There's bigger players here.
So, all right. So then we talked about, there's two things. So A, one market, and B, super profitable. I think we'll lead first with, let's talk about building a super profitable business. Because this is one of those businesses, and I'm just going to talk about me a little bit. I transitioned, right, my focus from the traditional business to the wholesaling business, because what I saw was there's a lot of ego, a lot of like, man, these guys are doing really big numbers. But then you look behind the curtain, it's like, well, they're doing big numbers, but they're not keeping a lot of it. We see a lot of ego, a lot of chest puffing, but not a lot of take home.
Right.
Which is really cool in the beginning, but as you get a little older, take home's a little bit more important,
for sure,
than revenue. So that's like, well, let's look at wholesaling, because now it's a business. You don't have to worry about the puffing, the ego and the flash and whatever. And you learn very quickly, no, that's not true at all. It's even worse.
Even worse.
Right? And so let's talk about profitability, because I think that's something that I like to harp on. I don't think it's talked about enough. So let's talk about the profitability component. How do you run a profitable business that's more than 50%? Because I think most of them are in the 15 to 25% profitability.
Really?
I think so. So let's talk about, even getting north of 50 is admirable. So how did you do it?
Like I was telling Larry, it's thanks to COVID, to be honest, man. We cut out all out of fat. I had a huge team around end of 2019, beginning of 2020. I had a sales team of like 7 guys and gals. I had 1 girl, and I had a dispo, transactional coordinator. So we had a lot of, and then to feed them too, right? You have marketing expenses to go out.
You got to spend to feed.
You got to spend to feed. So when we looked at our numbers, January, February of 2020 and a lot of 2019, we were spending a good amount on marketing. We were spending anywhere close to 40 just on marketing. And you have to understand there's marketing expenses and there's operational expenses, and you got payroll expenses. Combine all those up, and you got to get a few deals.
It gets a little uncomfortable.
Right, exactly. So our team got leaner, right? A lot of services that we didn't need, we cut that out. So what really played a big role into our net profit increasing to that plus 50% is the follow-up agents that we have on board right now. So basically, we call them junior acquisitions as well. So what they're doing is they're prospecting. They're calling individuals who haven't picked up the phone. You know, someone that we missed a follow-up date on, someone we sent a contract but hasn't signed or just ghosted us. They're calling those individuals, those sellers, and whenever they get them on the phone, you know, seeing if they're still looking to sell, ask a few other pre-qualifying questions, seeing if they're ballpark prices in our ballpark price, and then do a live transfer to our senior acquisition, the closers. Mm-hmm. So right now, currently, we have 2 senior acquisitions and 1 transactional coordinator / disposition agent. She's 2 in 1, because I feel like that position goes hand in hand. All you really need to do is have a VA market it out for you to email and all that, especially with the hot market right now. And then you just take the incoming calls, lock up the deal, and then that's when the transactional role comes in, where you send the assignment contract and kind of get the deposit and kind of get the clear title. So currently right now there's 4 of us in office, including myself. Mm-hmm. So payroll expenses kind of went down. The operational expenses, where we didn't need this service, where we were like, why are we using this service? You know, it was a lot of stuff that during quarantine where I was like, man, I don't need this service.
A lot of vendors felt that hurt.
Yeah. I was like, I don't need this. I got this. This is the same thing. I had PropStream and Propelio. Why do I have both of them? Right. So, not to throw any shots out. I mean, just, you know, but
a lot of service providers got hurt.
Yeah.
That's the reality. It was that everyone was looking at their credit card statements like, do I still need this? Do I still need this? Yeah. So we were expecting to get hurt. We didn't get hurt. But the people that we pay every month on a SaaS model, they felt that pain.
Subscriptions, that can really rack it up. But so that's kind of what helped us become, you know, really, our net profits go up.
So let's talk about then, you know, the follow-up agents. It sounds like you call them follow-up agents. I hear other people call them lead managers, because it sounds like the nurturing component. Am I off base here?
Yeah, they're nurturing. Yeah,
they're nurturing. So
I don't call them lead managers. I just don't like to call someone in that position a manager. Okay.
What's the thought process behind that?
Because they're remote. They're basically part of our cold calling company. Mm-hmm. If you call them in my opinion, whenever you call someone a lead manager or a manager, then they feel like they need more than what you give them.
Gotcha. So it's kind of like the opposite, where like everyone at the bank is the vice president.
Yeah.
Right. Like every person at the bank is the vice president or something.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. So compensation, you know, how do you pay someone that's in a junior acquisition role that tees it up for an acquisition person? What do you pay the junior person? What do you pay the acquisition person?
Yeah. That's the sweet spot. So basically, they're from our cold calling company. Mm-hmm. We're paying our cold callers $5 an hour. Mm-hmm. So we're paying our follow-up agents $5 an hour.
Gotcha.
And then we'll give them a bonus every time. So they have KPIs as well. They're part of our team. So I have one-on-ones with them as well each week. They're part of our sales training as well. So if they're able to do, you know, their KPIs are doing at least 5 live transfers a week, right? And then whenever they do a live transfer that turns into a contract, that's a $75 bonus for them, which is amazing to them.
So I'm assuming that they're not in Houston.
No, they're not. They're in Costa Rica.
Gotcha. Okay. And then your acquisition guys, what are you paying them?
They're paying $2,000 a month salary, plus the incentive of $500 bonus if they're able to reach their numbers, their KPI numbers, as in contracts per week, minutes talked, number of processes. So they get a $500 bonus if they're able to reach their numbers, and then 7% commission.
That's awesome. So you get a 2,000 base, 500 for doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then 7%.
7%.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then we do spiffs every week basically.
Very cool. And I think the dispo thing and transaction coordinator, right? Like, it's an interesting role, because I agree with you. A person doing dispo can do transaction coordinating, but I think also at this exact moment in our market, dispo is not as hard.
It's not as hard.
Right now.
Yeah.
But that could change.
Yeah.
In 12 to 18, 24 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what about your marketing then, right? To get the kind of volume, Because I don't think we talk about units. So what kind of units and what kind of marketing channels do you have to do to get
Units?
there?
You mean how many
transactions a year?
Last year we did 104.
Okay. And what kind of marketing did you have to do to yield that?
Roughly ranges anywhere from between 15 to 20,000. So I'll say about like 17, 18 average in marketing. That's including data. We're doing cold calling. Currently right now, present day, cold calling, SMS, and radio.
Radio.
We just started doing radio in January. It's been a hit.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, not a lot of people talking about radio.
I know.
It's very cool.
That really comes from the furniture background. Because
that makes sense.
My brother is all over the radio, all over TV. It gives you that celebrity status. And that's what, that's kind of like the mindset I had going into it. I'm like, you know, I want, how do you differentiate your marketing channels from your other, you know, friends and competitors? And
right.
No one's really doing radio.
And then the other thing we're talking about in just one market, it's interesting because virtual became very sexy, particularly like it was already sexy, you know, before COVID, but then everyone with COVID, right? You're doing everything virtual now.
Right.
So that became more attractive.
Right.
But you're gung-ho. You're shoving all your chips in Houston.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I just feel like we tried to do the virtual model, which we did a couple deals in Jacksonville, Florida. So that was our secondary market that we were going to dive into. And we started that January of 2020. And we started that. We had a couple of deals under contract, and then COVID hit. And a lot of the buyers in Jacksonville went stale, like nothing like Houston. Houston buyers were still buying. Jacksonville was like, oh, we need to buy at 60%, 55%. So at that time, I told my dispo guy, you know, let's just try to sell these deals for what we have them under contract for. We couldn't even sell them what we had under contract for. So we just dropped Jacksonville and we just went really deep and narrow into Houston. And we're just like, it's a huge city, you know, and we also went from the whole quantity in deals to quality in deals. So our assignments went up as well. Assignment fees went up in 2020, 2021, and they're actually even higher. So we're actually focusing more on quality rather than quantity. So rather than focusing on, you know, 10 to 12 transactions a month, we're going to be focusing on, you know, 5 to 7 or 5 to 8 transactions, but bigger deals. Just working smarter, not harder.
What are you doing to get larger spreads?
Sales training. You know,
Gotcha.
Just a mindset. It's a mindset thing. It's like, hey, we're offer this. We're going to offer this.
And then what was your average fee in 19 and what's your average fee now?
19 was 11. 2019 was 11. 2020 was 14. And 2021, I haven't checked, but it has to be in like the 20 range.
That's good. That's huge.
Yeah, especially with where the market is right now. And we're getting excited and seeing over asking.
Yeah.
From my dispo.
That's fantastic right now. Yeah. Are you flipping it all or just wholesale?
No, we tried the whole flipping thing. Just wasn't our cup of tea. And then the wholesaling as well, but I just like the wholesaling. I just do what works.
Right.
And it's working, so might as well keep doing it.
Makes sense. So what does your organization look like today? We talked about your wife is still involved in the business.
Yeah.
You got an acquisition, two acquisitions. You got a dispo transaction coordinator.
2 follow-up agents.
2 follow-up agents.
And then 2 VAs in the Philippines. And
gotcha.
One of my VAs, Michelle, she's been with us. She was my first hire. So they do KPIs. They do They do SMS. They do the underwriting, as in on Podio. A lot of like admin tasks.
Yeah.
Michelle and Hazel do.
Now there are a lot of people in Houston. They've been on the show, right?
Right.
And I know even more, right? That haven't been on the show.
For sure.
What separates you from all of them?
What separates me or my company?
Both.
Both. So what separates my company from them, I would obviously say it's our core values, right? I mean, I don't think they have the same core values as us. Work ethic, right? Just because, like I said, we come from a background that is just, you know, grind, which I'm kind of changing. That the whole mindset has changed a little bit. It's more working smarter, not harder. Especially with, like I was telling you, having a daughter now, and it's everything in life changes. But yeah, I would say it's, we're not trying to get rich off of one deal. There's been numerous times where after closing, instead of price dropping a seller, we gave them more because we're like, we made a good amount on this assignment fee. Let's give them a little bit more.
That's awesome.
So that's part of our core value, integrity, right? Faith, man. Honestly, that's what separates me from. I mean, I'm sure other investors, competitors, friends, they have faith as well, but my relationship with God is different.
What are your core values?
We have faith, integrity, work ethic, fearless, and teamwork.
I haven't heard fearless before. Let's talk about
fearless, man. Yeah, that's a good one. I love it. I love fearless. Fearless, man. So fearless works on every division of the company, right? So you got acquisition for marketing part. Let's start with the marketing part. Marketing part, fearless. You got to be fearless when you're spending these marketing dollars. You got to have faith that it's you're gonna spend this money, and it's hopefully gonna come back. So the fearless. That's the fearless part for the marketing department. Acquisition, fearless on giving offers. Don't be scared of these sellers. Like when you give them a lower offer, like. I see a lot of my acquisition guys or just acquisition guys in general. They're like, okay, I'll give you a call back with an offer, but they don't give an offer because they're scared that the seller is going to react a certain way if they give a lower offer. Yeah. So fearless on giving offers, fearless on basically asking certain questions on, those, what's the situation, what's going on, or, why, asking questions as in, so, how long has that been going on for, things of that nature. Being fearless in the acquisition department. Disposition department, fearless of the buyers. Buyers can intimidate you. They can make you feel like you work for them or that you need them more than they need you. So being fearless on that part of it. Transactional coordinating, being fearless, being fearless with the sellers by making sure that they give, the correct paperwork and they're giving you the correct information. Things of that nature. So
I love it. I mean, it kind of goes back to the mindset thing you were talking about in the very beginning.
All right.
Just having that mindset.
All right.
So that's huge. So we're going to some of these questions. I love the first question is, what did you major in?
What we're doing right now, communications. I went in for business supply chain management. That's what I went in for. I minored in that. The whole stats and math stuff didn't sit well with me. So
math didn't sit well with you.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, the whole X, Y, and Z, man. The numbers, when they put numbers in math, it's just like, I thought it was addition and subtraction and multiplication.
Come on. Your background, you can't be good at math.
Yeah.
Ben wants to know, what's your favorite mastermind?
What was my favorite mastermind?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of them were good, man. Like I said before the show, I've been in Sean Terry and Kent Clothier's Elite. I've been in the DM family with Mark Evans. That was great. That was a different mastermind. It was not focused on wholesaling. It was more focused on business, entrepreneurship, on being on kind of manifesting what you want in life, and not the who but the how. Right. Mark focuses a lot on that. 10 and CEO, but yeah, that and I've been in Carlos and Sal's Executive Elite. That really helped me structure my business on the correct paper. That really helped me focus on my business, my wholesaling business as an actual business. The onboarding part, the paperwork, the non-competes, non-disclosures, everything like that. Yeah, man, just the mastermind where you can basically, it really depends on the person, right? It depends on what stage you're at in life.
That's really important.
Yeah, so you got to really research on the mastermind and really research on the people who are in the mastermind, because if you can't connect with them, then it's kind of pointless. Yeah, because that's what you get in a mastermind for.
That's the most valuable part.
Right.
Sharday wants to know, how did you create, structure, and automate your business?
Just going through it. You just got to go through it, man. It's the process. But I would say leaning on, it's just copy and pasting. It's just what's working. So there's two parts to that answer. So one is just going through it, and two is seeing what works for other individuals and trying it for yourself. Mm-hmm. and kind of doing that.
Yeah, I love copying and pasting from other business owners.
Don't try to, like, people say this all the time, but don't try to reinvent the wheel, especially in this business. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, it's in all businesses. It's just
There's so many people to learn from. Why would you try to invent something from scratch?
That's why I don't know why they don't allow cheating in school anymore. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding.
I mean, the ones that did well did cheat in different ways. Seth Hardy wants to know, how did you structure your marketing campaign in the earlier part in your business, maybe when you didn't have as much funds to work with?
A lot of it was my time driving for dollars, putting bandit signs on my own. Right, my wife and I, she would drive, I would jump out of the car and put the bandit signs. So it was a lot of my time, since the funds, I was on a shoelace budget.
Yeah.
Right. So writing letters, sending not really postcards. It was just writing letters. I would just print papers out and just write my initial on the bottom and just send it out. Until I started getting some deals coming in. When I started getting some deals coming in, then I always learned that it's 15 to 20% marketing of what you're getting. So if I would make, let's just say, for example, I didn't make this in the early stages, but just for numbers' sake, $100,000, and I know $15,000 to $20,000 is going to marketing. So I just structured it in that way.
That's good.
Learning from the masterminds, obviously.
And Matt Smith wants to know, how much did you net?
How much did I net? And what?
I guess for 2020.
So you guys, pull out your calculator. And
57% at 1.4.
57% 1.4.
Juan also wants to know, do you do any creative financing or any term deals?
We do subject to. We do subject to deals. We haven't got into the owner financing part of it, which I love that part of it, but I just haven't got into it.
Brian Tapia wants to know, why do you have 2 watches?
So yeah, man, it's not a watch. It's a Whoop. It's
What
a
is
Whoop. So basically, it tracks your sleep, tracks your activity throughout the day. But that's a good question though. I actually did have 2 watches. I used to have the Apple Watch on the right hand and my regular watch on the left hand. But then that looked silly. But now I feel like this Whoop, I mean, you gotta really look close to see it's not a watch. It's just a band. It's like a Fitbit, I guess you can say, but it tracks a lot more things. And my wife just got it for me a couple of days ago.
Awesome, very cool.
Yeah.
Cody Wilmoth wants to know, what's your take on memorandums, which apparently is a growing issue in the Houston market?
What's up, Cody? What was I gonna say? What's my take on memorandums? I feel like memorandums are important on certain deals, depending on the seller. Because before we do memorandums on about 70% of our deals, and I would say before we started drawing up memorandums, the reason why we got into memorandums was because, sellers, the sellers we're dealing with, I mean, they're shopping around with offers, right? They don't know the real estate rules, especially if you don't explain to them that, hey, you're signing a legally binding contract, you can't go and get another offer. If you don't explain that to them, then they just think it's normal. They just think that they can go ahead.
They don't know what they can't do.
Yeah, and we're in Houston. We're in a competitive market, so they're getting calls left and right. So, and also when you blast out a deal, there's some people out there who would call that seller that you blasted out the deal and try to get it. So it's important. I think it's valuable. I think it's something that you should do on majority of the properties that you put under contract. Yeah,
and I think that some of the people that do them are kind of shady, but that's only if they contracted a property that they had no intention of buying,
right?
And then filing a memorandum,
right?
But yeah, if the seller signed a contract with you that you intended to buy, then I'm all about filing the memos.
Yeah, you file memos?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Alexis wants to know, do you let your buyer give you a price on the deal, or do you give them the price?
For our dispo side, so yeah, we have a starting price. We don't have a wholesale. We have a starting price now. So basically, because the way the market's so hot, so if we're asking $135 for a property, we're gonna put starting price $135, and then we just kind of take it from there. Give about 48 hours for all the offers to come in. We have a Podio web form that they submit the offers, and then we go with the highest and best. We don't do bidding wars, nor do we disclose on, hey, we have 140 on the table if you can do 141. We feel like that's very unethical, and I stress that on my dispo person don't ever tell the buyer what offers we have on the table. Just say, hey, we have a lot of competitive offers, but you never say the number. But yeah, we have a starting price.
Yeah, I love that. Leo Aguirre wants to know, what is your why?
My why? That's a good question. So, as time goes on, I mean, your why changes. It's changed for me. 2017, 2018 was different. 2019 was different. And now I have a daughter who's 8 months, and my why is to be a front row dad, to be someone who's there for my kids and for my wife, for my kids' milestones, for when they're a baby, when they're their first gymnastics or their first tennis tournament. I want to be present. So giving them my time, time is a huge commodity. So giving them my time, traveling with my wife and my kids, taking them to enjoy amazing experiences, and basically leading them to the side of basically leading them in the religion part of it, where that my mom and dad kind of guided me towards. Never force it on them, but the way that my mom and dad taught me about religion was I feel like was very special, and that's the way I want to kind of leave that on my kids.
Do you think with your parents having their businesses, I don't know when they started it, but do you think the time with your daughter, how important it is to you, is in any way related to you growing up?
So my mom was a stay-home mom. So my mom gave all the time. My dad really balanced his time, but that's the opposite with my brothers. My brothers are just work from they still, even the business been about 22, 23 years now since they started in 98. They're still, working 10 to 12 hours days, and I don't want to do that. I want to be able to, give that time to my kids, to my wife, to my family. Because I feel like that's the biggest thing that we have.
It is, but not everyone sees that.
Yeah, no, it's true, and I didn't see that before. Before I was in the office from 7 until 8 p.m. at night. But now it's just I want to be home with my daughter. Right. I want to be home with my wife.
Matt Smith wants to know: is there any particular software that you use, or maybe can't live without?
Podio, obviously. That's our CRM. Propelio, what we run our comps on. Those are the two that we can't function without.
And Alejandro Verduzco wants to know, where do you find your cash buyers?
They're all over. But basically, the way that we kind of grew our buyers list in the beginning stages was posting our deals on Craigslist, right? Facebook groups. There's a bunch of Facebook groups that are in Houston. So whenever someone will post a deal, a bunch of people will put their email addresses, and we just copy and paste them. And My House Deals, we post our deals on My House Deals. Offer Fast, that's a good website as well. And basically that's pretty much it. We're just now we don't even grow our list. We have people who contact us to put them on our list.
Yeah.
But before it was, Craigslist, My House Deals, and on Facebook, just putting hey, I have a property in 77089, drop your emails. A bunch of emails goes, and you just copy and paste them. That's pretty much it.
That's awesome.
That's how we grew our list.
Ben wants to know: do you have any coaches or mentors right now?
Yes, absolutely, always.
Who's mentoring you right now?
So I'm always learning from someone, but like I said, Mark Evans is a mentor of mine. Carlos Sal and Alex are mentors. As in a one-on-one mentor, no, I don't have a one-on-one mentor. I haven't. So I just went to Tiffany and Josh's event a couple weeks last week, and even though I see them as friends or whatnot, but I feel like when we talk, I feel like it's still kind of, there's still some kind of mentorship that goes on there, because you learn from your peers.
Right.
But currently, I'm not in a mastermind, nor do I have any personal one-on-one mentorship going on. To answer that question.
Awesome. And then Juan wants to know, with the growth that you have now, do you stick with wholesale, or do you have other sources of profit?
So is he asking that if wholesaling is my only source of income?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so what else are you doing?
We have
besides credit card processing?
We're not doing credit card processing. We have a couple e-com stores.
Yeah.
Amazon, crypto, and wholesaling. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're obviously now And we have, some passive income coming in, but I want to grow that passive income because the life that I want, I can't be in a transactional business.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, I know that the life that I want with the time and, the traveling and all that, I have to, that has to be, I have to supply my income in a passive way. So we're looking more into, creating that passive income from self-storage facilities.
Gotcha. Why self-storage?
Because you don't have to deal with tenants.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And it's cash on cash. Just look at the numbers.
Yeah. So Alexis wants to know, how are you advertising your deals? So we kind of talked about that actually already. Matt Smith wants to know, how do you manage your lead lists?
My lead list, Podio? Or as in like the raw data that we get?
My guess is maybe you use a lead stacker or list
Yeah,
stacker.
we use Batch. We use Batch as lead stacker. Batch is real cool.
You see them while you were in town?
No, not yet.
There's always like this little tour when people come in here, right?
Yeah, I know.
You got to see Brent Daniels. You got to see Carlos and Sal. You got to see whatever.
Yeah.
So, what is your biggest struggle right now?
My biggest struggle right now, in business or personal?
Both.
Business, wholesaling business, I would say the struggle, it's not really a struggle, but it's kind of a decline than it was last year. And it'll be more on the acquisition side since inventory is low with, I guess, nationwide, really, right? We're still getting, a good amount of deals, still closing anywhere from 6 to 9 deals a month. But I would say the acquisition side is a struggle. For personal, I would say the shiny object syndrome, man. Yeah, there's so many things going on. I really got to focus, and I have a goal on what I want to focus on with the wholesaling business, with the passive income that we spoke about. But it's just, got so many people, promoting, so many things. Like I said, crypto. You got the sports cards. You got
any sports cards?
I put in a little investment in for it, but so
you're spot on though, right? There is that element, like, how do you stay focused? So last week was I didn't have anything going on Thursday or Friday, and I was freaking out, right? Like, I'm used to like being super busy and super behind.
Yeah, right.
And I had too much free time last week, so I told my team, like, we're launching 2 or 3 new products in the next couple of months, so bear with me, guys.
Yeah. No, so that's something as well, like struggle as in like not feeling that you're behind, just knowing that it's a process, that things are gonna happen, because like sometimes I just want things to happen like instantly. I was like, I just want to start making $50,000 a month passive income. Why can't it happen like that? So like just knowing that it's a process. Patience is it's a huge thing.
Well, you just had a baby, so you learned that you can't rush baby coming out. Be patient.
All right.
You let the process work its way through.
Yeah, man.
Chris Green wants to know, what's your favorite list and data source?
I use List Source, Listability, Batch. All lists, I mean, all of them are good, man. It's just about consistency. It's about putting, using those lists, numerous times, and using them through all different channels, cold calling, SMS. We don't do RVM anymore, but doing that, and then that's just part of it. And then you got the sales part, you got the follow-up part, you got the transactional coordinating part, the dispo part. There's a few different parts to it.
There's a lot of parts to it.
Yeah.
Cody Wilmoth wants to know, how did you find your first acquisition guy?
Cody Wilmoth was my first acquisition guy.
I guess, how did you find him?
Was it Indeed? I think it was Indeed. We're still using Indeed. It might have been Indeed or Craigslist. Surprisingly, man, Craigslist, we got a lot of people from Craigslist.
A lot of people that are still with me today
really
are from Craigslist.
Yeah.
But we don't advertise there anymore. But a lot of the good people we have.
Yeah, we don't advertise there anymore either.
Daniel Tawelde wants to know, how did you find your cold callers? Are they in-house or are they outsourced?
They're outsourced in Costa Rica.
And Matt Smith wants to know, what was the one thing that took you to the next level?
One thing that took me to the next level is faith. Knowing that if I put the work in, if I was consistent with it, that it was going to pay back. So it was faith. And I always had the mindset of, if they can do it, so can I. Right. So that's why I watch those videos, and I still watch testimonial videos on different things that I'm trying to get into, like different ventures, or talk to other individuals who are in that and kind of just have them share their stories, because I always have that, like, if they can do it, so can I. You know, we're all the same. You know, so that's my thing. Faith is huge for me.
So one of my best friends is my accountability partner, and he says this, and this is not like, it's not said in the right context at all, but he says, like, if that idiot can do it, why can't I? Right? And because he's in these groups, right? And he sees people doing 8 figures, right? And he's like, 9 figures, right? So he's in the 8-figure business, right? Because he's not in real estate. He's doing something else a little bit bigger. But he's in a business where they're doing 8 figures. And he's like, if that guy can do 9 figures, why can't I do 8 figures? And that motivates him.
Yeah. No, it's motivation for sure.
Yeah. What is your superpower?
So, you know, I knew you were going to ask me this question. So I thought about it a few times, and I asked my wife, and I asked my team as well. And I loved my wife's answer the most, and I feel like it was on point. And I mentioned it a couple times as well, but I always lean on faith, man. I mean, I'm a God-fearing man, and I know that, you know, God has a plan for me. So it's basically, it's faith. It's if I do right, I put the work in, I know I'll be taken care of.
I love it.
And no matter what trials and tribulations comes, because if you're not dealing with, you know, trials or tribulations, if you're not dealing with hard times, you're not doing something right. If you're not getting uncomfortable in your certain position that you're in or the company that you're running, then you're not living to the fullest potential. So I try to put myself in uncomfortable positions, and you know, and sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm like, because I gotta get out of that comfort. But I know that if I'm doing this, I know that I'm gonna be okay, because faith is there with me.
Do you think the faith and the fearlessness are intertwined?
For sure.
Because you're getting your team, right, your squad is like, you guys gotta be fearless. But I think if you have faith, that enables you
100%,
to be fearless.
100%. They do intertwine.
What is the greatest lesson you've learned?
Greatest lesson I've learned, to enjoy the process, to enjoy the journey. You know,
which is also different than being patient, or than being impatient, wanting the results now.
To enjoy it, you know, just to kind of just to enjoy the journey, to kind of, you know, keep it, to be present, but mainly to enjoy the journey.
What caused you to go from being impatient to learning to embrace the process?
Basically going through it, right? It's like, it's because when that gratification happens, we're like, okay, like, it happened, all right, awesome. And like, if you just, you know, were patient, or if you didn't like really like get flustered at that time where you're like, I need it to happen now, everything would have been okay, things would have happened differently. And then you know, just knowing that, I guess, just going through it, like realizing journaling, knowing that if I could have just stuck through it and just kept going through the motions, it would have eventually planned out. And it showed me numerous times that if I just keep going through it,
the joy is in the journey.
Right,
for sure. Because even if you hit your number today, you wouldn't be happy. Right? Like if you said the 50,000 a month passive, right?
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to do this, and in 30 days you did it. There'd be something else.
Yeah,
you wouldn't stop there.
All right. So enjoying that and being grateful for that. That like, all right, I hit this. Let's enjoy this time right now, and not just set the next goal. I need to do 100,000 next month.
Right.
But enjoying that time right now. Like, I hit 50. Wow. I had this vision 3 months ago, 4 months ago. That's amazing. What did I do to get this? Like, really just to kind of, what I also started really doing recently is journaling, right? Just writing my thoughts down. And it's really helped me out. I also try to start a podcast. But when I was speaking in the podcast, it was just me speaking, and I really like enjoyed it. Like, after I was done with the podcast, like speaking on the mic, which I was just really talking to myself, just that feeling that I felt that like, wow, I got a lot out of it. Like I vented, and just kind of just documenting your thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, I love it. And what is your favorite, best, or most interesting failure?
So in the real estate business, you're always failing. There's always things going on. If you're not failing, then it's something's going on. So I'm always failing forward. I would say this question, I would kind of put it more on personal. So I think it's interesting. I still think about it to this day. So my wife right now, my girlfriend at the time, well, she's not actually my girlfriend. We basically dated in high school, and then we disconnected for 7 years, and we reconnected in college. Just randomly we met each other. We're like, hey, I know you go to the school and stuff like that. So, I was obviously trying to, make her my girlfriend again. And I was working with the family business at that time. It was in 2014. This was 2014. And I know she was a huge Beyonce fan. I'm a huge Jay-Z fan. And I had purchased like fourth or fifth row tickets to the concert that Beyonce and Jay-Z were coming in town. So I purchased that, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get these tickets, sit on the floor, and sparks are gonna fly, Bay and Jay are gonna sing, we're gonna rekindle, and we're gonna start this relationship back up. And yeah, I invited her, I asked her out, and she denied me. And she denied me because I guess her friend at the time, they were like on this whole free soul, single life type of thing. So I failed, but I stayed persistent. And since I stayed persistent, she's my wife now.
Awesome.
I had to take my sister, actually. It was okay.
Hopefully she enjoyed the show.
She did. Had a good time.
Is there a book that you've gifted more than any other?
Yeah, Nick Ruiz's Flip. Everybody who asks me how do I get into the real estate, I recommend them that book. And then once they read that book, I tell them, hey, I'll teach you the game, but read this book, and once you finish reading this book, then we'll kind of take it from there. And I have about 95% of people who don't hit me back up.
Ryan Panita does that.
Oh yeah?
It's like, yeah, read my book. Until you read my book, I'm not answering any of your questions.
Yeah.
Is there anything, Leo wants to know, is there anything that you would change? Any regrets or anything you could have done better?
That's a good question. Yeah, I wouldn't have scaled so fast. Because like I said, in 2018, December was when I hired my first VA. And then 2019, like summertime, I started hiring all these, sharks, really. Really, sales sharks. And, basically I had a room full of, individuals who wanted to have a wholesaling business, and I didn't know it at that time. So that's when my team kind of fell apart, and that's what really helped me, I guess, scale. And at that time, I was regretting. I was like, man, I really taught them the game, and this and this and that, and I really regretted kind of just how things rolled out. But it happened. Now I remember that saying that things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And because of that, it really helped us scale. But really, what I regret, I really don't regret anything, because things happen, you have to go through the process. But I would just say, hiring better.
Yeah.
Hiring better.
And I don't think there's a single business person that doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, but that's part of experience, Yeah. And you got to go through that. You got to go through, you got to go through the process. You got to go through the experience. You can't really vet people out until you actually run into those individuals that you want on your team, who don't align with your core values. We didn't have core values at that time, but
you can't shortcut hiring.
Yeah.
There's no shortcuts.
Yeah.
To hiring. We're still figuring it out.
Yeah, no, for sure. Same. There's all these personality tests and as well, but I mean, they're just tests. People can just manipulate what you want them to hear.
Yeah.
But we have actually like a 3 to 4 step hiring process now. So we're really like vetting people. So.
That's awesome. Well, then I guess, is there any tip you would give for someone that's hiring right now?
A tip Yeah, so really, I mean, I'll just tell you how we hire, and maybe someone can get some tips from that.
Yeah.
So what we do is, and I learned a majority of it from Terry Thayer. He's a good friend of mine as well. So basically, what we do is we post an ad on Indeed, and then we get a bunch of people, right? In Houston, we get like 150, 200 people who apply, and then from there, they have to take basically a test, a personality test, and then once they take that test, then basically they have to fill out a survey. And when they fill out a survey, that survey kind of tells you like if they're comfortable with the salary that we're giving them, or if they're comfortable, what are they looking, what are their goals, what are their vision, why do they feel like they're the best candidate. So they answer those questions from those, and then so basically it reads from 150 people to, let's just say, 25 people, and then from the 25 people, then they do the survey, and that weeds them out to like 10 people, 5 people, and then we hop on the phone with them, do an in-phone interview. Then from there, we do an in-person interview. And then in the in-person interview, we also sometimes have them hop on the calls. If it's acquisition, we have them hop on the calls. And, because someone could say that, hey, we're good at closing, we're good at sales, we talked on the phone, we used to do customer service, this is Y and Z, and then we put some leads in front of them, like, I call them. And then
you find out what you really got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, yeah, that's our steps. So really just kind of, I guess, vetting these individuals out. And I feel like the best part of the system is really kind of just the host. I really like the survey, because I can really kind of read a person by what the answers are on the survey, and then from there we choose on who we're gonna call for in-person in-phone interview.
We're gonna have to compare surveys after this, because we have our own survey, so we're gonna have to compare surveys.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I want you to think about something you want to leave the listeners with as far as last thoughts go.
Okay.
Guys, we have our sales training all day on middle of April, so 2 weeks. If you guys are interested, shoot me a DM at steve.trang on Instagram. And guys, please like, share, subscribe, comment, because this helps the algorithms, right? This tells YouTube that this is worthy content if you guys interact. So please interact so we can drive that engagement. So last thoughts you want to leave the listeners with?
Last thoughts I want to leave the listeners with. So basically, I would say for the individuals who are trying to get into the business or find traction into the business, in this wholesaling business or any business, really get obsessed with it. Especially with the wholesaling business. I mean, there's so many individuals now trying to get into it. If you I don't know if you can cuss. If you do the business, I don't know, I was gonna say that, but if you do halfway of the business, then you're gonna get halfway results, right?
Yeah.
So really go all in.
Or less.
Huh?
Or less.
Or less, exactly, or less. So really get obsessed with this, put the work in, know that the consistency and work ethic, I feel like is the formula to this, right? You can there's hundreds of ways to market to off-market sellers. There's 100 ways to, talk to them. There's everybody teaching a sales course or teaching how to market or whatnot. But if you can really just put the work in, do it on a consistent basis, you will be rewarded.
Yeah, become a fanatic.
Become a fanatic, exactly. Become a fanatic, and that's what I did. I mean, in my ear, it was just Sean Terry. When I met Sean Terry in October, I felt like I met a celebrity. I was like, dude, I feel like I know you, right? Same way I feel like I knew you when you came in. I wanted to give you a hug because I was like, I listen to your podcast all the time. So and always keep learning, right? I mean, I'm always learning, from different podcasts or different individuals on Instagram.
To this day, when I see Sean Terry, I still feel like I'm seeing a celebrity.
Right.
It's crazy.
He's the pioneer, man. He's the OG. So yeah, just get obsessed and just put that work in.
Yeah. I heard something great last week. Was like, if you died today, would there be enough evidence to convict that you were this person? So like, if someone were to pass away today, if you were in an accident, like would be able to say, oh, Sean was this incredible wholesaler. Oh, would we be able to tell? Is he leaving enough evidence behind to prove that he is? And the only way you can do that is if you're a fanatic. You're going all in.
Yeah.
Doing everything. The thing, one of my biggest pet peeves is someone that sends me Facebook friend requests. Like, I don't even know what this person does.
Yeah.
I don't know what industry they're in. I don't know what they're doing. Awfully political, but that's besides the point. Someone wants to get a hold of you. What's the best way to do that?
Someone wants to get a hold of me, they can DM me on Instagram Sean Zavary, right? Or Facebook message me, Sean Zavary. They can email me at Sean, SEAN, at greenlightoffer.com. And yeah, I wouldn't want people to remember me as Sean the wholesaler, by the way, if I pass away.
Right.
Because when
6 months ago.
6 months ago, yeah.
Right.
But no, but that's a question I think of all the time as well. What do I want people to remember me when I pass away?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I want them to? And that's the way I kind of want to live my life, as in like, what would that person remember? Like, who was Sean? Was it the guy who always had a smile on, who always was positive, right? So I think about that. It's funny that you brought that up, because I think about that all the time, because it was a whole different topic, but because when my dad passed away in 2009, like all people said was, man, he was a fantastic person. He was great. He always had a smile on his face. He was so joyful, right? So I want to leave this world like with the imprint of like how people, if someone says, oh, your father was Sean, like, oh, and then say like something positive.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of way I want to.
Another great thought to leave the listeners with.
Yeah.
Great exercise for you guys to think about.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure, buddy. It was an honor, man. Thanks for so much.
Thank you guys for watching.
Look at that. Peace, guys.